It is a great honour to be here, and I thank Bashi and the whole team for this amazing conference. I'm an independent breastfeeding advocate, a birth activist and birth educator, having founded EmbodyBirth in 1997. EmbodyBirth is a childbirth education program that uses dance and somatic practices to uplift and inspire the beauty of birth, connecting mothers and babies with their innate birth wisdom to speak the language of the feminine, bringing women home. My passion is in advocating, supporting, educating and protecting mothers and babies' rights in this wisdom and the map of birth inherent within every woman through a philosophical and spiritual window. I invite care providers to also look through this view with me as I share her today as a reminder to what women and babies need. Fundamentally, I see birth as a normal and natural part of a woman's life cycle. In fact, as a rite of passage, and at the highest level, as a psycho-spiritual experience. Just like all rites of passages in a woman's life, birth is not a separate journey. It is part of her holistic life experiences. It is a place of transformation where mothers embody the true gifts of birth as a profound contribution to raise the consciousness of love for humanity. My philosophy might at times seem idealistic, a world away from the realities that many mothers experience and face. Yet it is a place that I know we could create globally as I hold a diamond to the light of real possibility for human rights in childbirth. When we can work together in a health system that elevates love and kindness within the care. I stand solid upon this platform, committed to a positive outlook for change, acknowledging my Eastern roots and my voice of privilege. I was gifted with my last child, my daughter, at that magical age of 46, and I had a home water lotus birth with her, with a wonderful home birth midwife, and I breastfed her for 8 years. I have such gratitude knowing a woman's mind, body, spirit is a beautiful gift when she has the opportunity to perfume the world with her nectar. Having been in India in the last 5 days, I also understand the monumental tasks and sensitivities at hand here, and sense the feelings of overwhelm and sometimes helplessness, especially around issues of emotional and spiritual deprivation, and the undeniable challenges within birthing communities here. Yet, as we have heard here in this conference, there are pockets of real change, deep change, that are making headway with some incredible people leading the way. I honour you all, and I suggest we keep reflecting on possibilities for improvements and keep up our momentum in holding space for supporting healthy birth as a fundamental human right. This is the starting point for any meaningful discussion. It should not be a fragmented or exclusive ideology afforded to a rare few, whether affluent, privileged or educated. It should be a right available to all women, babies and families. We must be comforted in knowing that we are all here together, awake and alive in our unity and endeavours to find ways to make improvements for optimal changes. Know that it is possible, it will happen, and we must not lose faith. In knowing this, it is important that I share my thoughts and personal truths on how birth could look if we truly revered mothers and babies. My perspectives do not stem from a medical point of reference, rather a channel through the corridors of an open heart, the ancient feminine lineage that has always known birth and will always know birth. The key to a mother's comfort is when she intuits healthy birth as being available to her and her baby. then she unequivocally feels the feminine heart placed at the centre of birthing. This felt sense emanates from society's customs and traditions, where there is respectful awareness that places dignity in maternal rights and not power over in central positions. To achieve this, we need to hold the law of birth in high esteem, with a declaration of global interdisciplinary unity, whether as individuals or as a collective. To deeply frame this into the psyche of maternal health care as an unwavering truth. The foundations of this truth implicitly affirms mothers and babies are of utmost value. Their well-being is our highest priority. They have equitable access to services. They are treated with dignity. There is trust in knowing that a mother's body with her baby is fully able to give birth in her autonomy. These lie at the foundations of how birth matters. Until we can globally affirm these kinds of principles, we will continue to have a disparity between mothers' needs and care providers, hospitals, and systems of care. It is essential that we come together. And as we seek this dignity and self-determination for mothers, we as care providers have to actually walk the pathway that illuminates this sacred simplicity that lies at the root of birthing. Here is where we can unravel from the complexities we have become bound by, that include structures that have normalised abuses and made it normal to accept them. We must place the sacredness of life, that which has been bestowed upon us all, as part of our birth philosophy, so we can address policy and change from a place of humanity. We then need to ask, what is the incentive to place the feminine heart at centre? How will this be achieved? And how would maternal care systems look and feel from this dignified position? Placing the primary focus that I believe is very important is on the affirmation: a mother's body knows how to birth her baby. Without reservation, we can pose this question and then ask ourselves, how might this change the landscape of birth? The shift to support healthy birth as a fundamental human right starts with a conscious move away from seeing pregnancy and birth as a clinical, sterile experience, something that needs to be fixed, where a mother is but a vessel, or worse, has a loss of personhood, to one where we endorse the humanity of mothers and babies. That is, her feelings, her baby's experience, her emotional world, her body integrity, her privacy, her equality, her dignity, and her autonomy. The mother's right to choose is central to this progressive approach. Birth rights are mother's rights, and mother-baby rights must be unwavering, regardless of a woman's cultural, socio-economic, racial, or religious background. Having clarity of purpose and workable principles that place mothers, babies, and families in this prominent position also requires us to have compassion for our own lives, our own struggles, and our own difficulties. If we can place ourselves on a philosophical platform that begins with engaging our humane heart, then this comforting approach will by default exemplify a standard of care that will positively affect maternal outcomes. Begrudging another because we are suffering does not help to make change. It compounds problems. This suffering that can reside in our unconscious has the ability, if we can, bring it to awareness and look at our own needs, allows us to see another's needs, whether that is our work colleagues or the mothers and babies we care for. Compassionate care starts with personal courage. And so it is of great value to a mother when she can feel our conscious presence engaged with her feelings, thoughts, and the vision she has for her birth, so that her body can open in safety, in response to the enormity of the birth process, and so her baby will be born into the arms of love. Can we at times let go of our desire to manage and be the primary expert, whilst having the awareness to attend to emergency situations only when and if they arise? Can we see beyond our need to fix, to do, to take charge, to control, to interfere, and actually consider what are the gifts we receive from a mother and baby? For a moment, consider a mother as our guiding light. This means we examine our behaviours and the ways we play and the places we intervene within the birth field, and simply ask ourselves 3 words. Is it necessary? Shutting the door on our impositions, fear-based language, or the need to be right shows that we implicitly understand the nature of pregnancy and birth. It is in this genuine place of respect that we can hear a mother's voice, listening from a perspective of gentle spaciousness, not domination, this very same spaciousness that a mother with her baby requires for her body to surrender and to connect to the rhythms of labour is essential. The energy of calm presence, loving guardianship, and a peaceful inner attitude is what safety feels like to a mother. So we serve without undermining, and we remain present in our steady professionalism. When we do this, we convey to a mother, I am in service to you. I am here for you. I respect your choices. I am present to what you need. And for those women who do not have a voice or who cannot speak up, their right to respectful care is equally given. The midwifery model of care knows that to truly be with woman is an art of the heart. This is what exemplifies woman-baby-centered care that lays the ground for us to create our new birth paradigm. And to go a step further, we as care providers need to examine the belief, the faith and trust we have, and our attitude, the school of thought we have around pregnancy and birth, asking, what are its origins? This informs our collective mindset, even on an unconscious level, and can influence whether we see a mother as a helpless victim or a physically and spiritually resourced person of value. We carry our cultural programming within, and at times we can get stuck in knowing, I want to make a change, but my patterns I am held hostage by. I am held hostage by old ways. It is important to, with a sharp lens, go deep inside and open our personal shutter into self-inquiry by asking ourselves, why do I carry this particular position around birth? What does this snapshot look like? Most importantly, does it serve a mother and baby's well-being? I have been on the front line of listening to mothers for 20 years, what it is they have requested, pleaded for, and relayed back about their birth experience. And sometimes these stories are beyond my comprehension. And I have to say, what I heard yesterday in the conference on Indian women's experiences deeply saddened me. And I'm also aware that trauma can beget trauma and become systemic. We have heard about the terrible abuses, and I acknowledge that they can have a significant detrimental physical and psychological effect on a mother that does not simply disappear once her baby is born, as any traumatic experience remains stored on a cellular level and affects everybody. Significantly, the kind of care a mother receives around her birth and the interventions she gets plays a huge role on how she internalises her birth experience. Sometimes in our heart of hearts, we believe we are being virtuous, yet may unconsciously be violating the mother-baby dyad. This is not always obvious to the care provider as we attend to the mother. Our manner in relationship to a woman's sensitivity may be perceived as harsh or disciplinary and can mean the difference between a distraught mother and a relaxed mother. Also, both non-consensual as well as consensual interventions can inflict harm on mothers and babies. We often perceive these as being mutually exclusive, which limits our dialogue, especially around consensual intervention. They are both problematic. If a woman consents to a procedure, even one that is deemed necessary, it is not a license to undermine, abuse, harm, or take advantage of her sanction. Further, consent may be given by a mother due to her fear of repercussions, of violence or threats. We must be aware of the many forms of both real and perceived danger that influences a mother's ability or inability to make informed choice and engage in mutual decision-making around her options. Remember, in the subtlety of a mother's vulnerability lies her heart. Vulnerability responds to respect and love. A manner that is considerate, a tone that is warm, body language that is welcoming with an openness to include the mother's informed consent alleviates physical, psychological, and energetic tensions. These reassuring approaches have a profound effect on a mother's interpretation of the birth experience, which also affects the baby. Communication is 10% words and 90% body language. Think about, will your presence open her perception to a feeling of safety or close her down with a perception of danger? By default, we will become either complicit in perpetuating less than ideal birth practices or awaken to the potential we have to change them. And this leads me to a crucial area of contemplation and awareness for change. It is in the understanding of how a mother navigates her labour and how the environment affects this navigation. Through the lens of birth physiology, when a mother freely journeys through the labour terrain in her autonomy, something profound unfolds. She enters a gateway that calls for her, with her baby, to cross a threshold between her everyday world down into her unconscious. This is a sacred place of reverence, potency, and grace. It is here that birth will unfold as she moves consciousness from her intellect to her womb and to her instincts, and moves her body being active and with self-referenced autonomy. The primal brain will activate the birth wisdom, and it is here that a mother transitions into the chasm of her internal world, a place of timeless resonance in order to open and meet her baby. We must understand the feminine essence, when governed by her deepest centre, does not operate from orderly, rigid structures. She is malleable, fluid, and flowing with the organic nature of life. I have a saying in my program that says, how can you take a feminine rite of passage, which is birth, that requires the elements of patience, timelessness, intuition, surrender, understanding, mystery, space, safety, and place her in a hierarchical system that is attuned to power, timeframes, order, linear structures, routines, and expect her body to open with ease. Whether her body will awaken or retract from the lyrics of birth is something we need to understand, and we need to configure how do we make this happen in the environment. So we need to consider, do we enhance her experiences so she feels valued, secure, and safe in our gentle care? And the secret is for us to feel these attributes flowing through our own bodies. And as Lavoie says, learn to respect this sacred moment of birth as fragile, as fleeting, as elusive, as dormant. And finally, I suggest we focus our energy on what love looks and feels like for optimum birth. In the wise words of Gandhi Ji, be the change you want to see in the world. And finally, I leave you with the possibility. How about this for an idea? Mother and baby are the experts of birth. They know what they are doing. The intelligence of the mother and the intelligence of the baby dance together, because giving birth is not an emergency. It is a spiritual emergence.